This is a true horror story. I was alone in my house one dark and stormy night. The wind was howling outside, and the trees were casting eerie shadows on the walls. I tried to distract myself by watching TV, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Suddenly, I heard a faint scratching sound coming from the attic. At first, I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just the wind or maybe a squirrel on the roof. But the noise grew louder and more insistent. It sounded like something was trying to claw its way through the ceiling. I muted the TV and listened closely. The scratching stopped for a moment, and then I heard what sounded like footsteps creaking across the attic floor. My heart started racing. I knew I was alone in the house. There shouldn't be anyone up there. I grabbed my phone to call for help, but there was no signal. The storm must have knocked out the cell towers. I was cut off, trapped alone with whatever was in the attic. The footsteps got louder, moving towards the attic door that led down to the second floor. I heard the rusty hinges squeak as the door slowly opened. My blood ran cold. Something was coming down the stairs. I ran to my bedroom and slammed the door shut, fumbling with shaking hands to lock it. I pushed my heavy dresser in front of the door for good measure. Whatever was out there, I didn't want it getting in. I cowered in the corner of my room, straining my ears for any sound. For a few minutes, there was only silence. Then I heard it. Slow, dragging footsteps coming down the hall towards my room. They stopped right outside my door. I held my breath, praying it would go away. But then I saw the doorknob start to turn. The lock held, but something was trying to get in. A low, inhuman growl came from the other side of the door. It didn't sound like any animal I'd ever heard. The growl turned into a high-pitched shriek that made my skin crawl. The door started shaking as something threw its weight against it repeatedly. I looked around frantically for a weapon, anything I could use to defend myself. But there was nothing within reach. I was trapped and helpless. The pounding on the door grew more frenzied. I could hear the wood starting to splinter. Whatever was out there, it was going to get in soon. I squeezed my eyes shut and covered my ears, wishing it would all go away. Suddenly, everything went quiet. The pounding stopped. I waited, barely breathing, straining to hear any sound. Nothing. After what felt like hours, I slowly uncurled from my hiding spot. I approached the door cautiously. The dresser was still in place, the lock still engaged. Maybe it had all been in my imagination. I pressed my ear to the door, listening for any sign of movement in the hallway. That's when I felt it, a cold breath on the back of my neck. I spun around, but there was nothing there. The room was empty, yet I could still feel an icy presence watching me from the shadows. A whisper came from right beside my ear. "I've been waiting for you." I whirled around again, but there was no one there. My eyes darted wildly around the room. The shadows seemed to be moving, shifting and stretching towards me. I backed up against the wall, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst from my chest. The temperature in the room plummeted. I could see my breath coming out in panicked gasps. The shadows coalesced into a dark, shapeless form hovering in the center of the room. Two glowing red eyes opened, staring directly into mine. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The shadow creature lunged at me. I felt icy tendrils wrapping around my body, pulling me into the darkness. I struggled, but it was too strong. As I was dragged into the inky blackness, I heard that chilling whisper one last time. "You're mine now." I jolted awake with a gasp, drenched in cold sweat. My heart was racing as I looked around wildly. I was in my bed, sunlight streaming through the windows. It had all been a nightmare. I breathed a sigh of relief, trying to shake off the lingering fear. As I got up to start my day, I noticed something on my nightstand that made my blood run cold. There, sitting innocently next to my alarm clock, was a single black feather. I knew with absolute certainty it hadn't been there when I went to sleep. I reached out with a trembling hand to touch it, wondering if I was still dreaming. The feather was ice cold. As my fingers brushed against it, I heard that bone-chilling whisper once more. "Sweet dreams. I'll see you again tonight." I ran from the room in terror, but I knew there was no escaping. Whatever had visited me in the night wasn't done with me yet, and as the sun set that evening, I dreaded what horrors awaited me in the dark. This is a true story. Well, maybe not entirely true, but on nights when the wind howls and shadows dance on the walls, I still feel that icy presence watching me. And I wonder, was it really just a dream? Or did something truly evil come for me that night? So the next time you're home alone and hear a strange noise, just remember, Not all monsters hide under the bed. Some of them are waiting in the shadows, biding their time until you let your guard down. And when they finally reveal themselves, it might already be too late. Sleep tight, and don't let the shadow creatures bite. After all, you never know what's lurking in the dark, waiting to drag you into the abyss. Pleasant dreams, dear listener. I hope you make it through the night.